On July 24, 2016, a concrete company owner in Monterey County, California, texted his buddy Robert Reagan 2 words. He wrote, "Hey bro, can you do it?" Reagan said yes. He kissed his wife Morgan and his 2 little girls goodbye, drove 4 hours to Monterey County, and climbed into a Caterpillar D6 he had never operated before. 2 nights later, at 11 p.m., in a canyon so steep the roads had no guardrails, his bulldozer slid off an 81% grade in the dark. A paramedic, standing 20 feet away, pronounced him dead on the ground. The Soberanes Fire had started 4 days earlier from an illegal campfire in Garapata State Park, just north of Big Sur. By the time Reagan got the text, it had already burned through thousands of acres of the Santa Lucia Mountains. Steep ridges, deep canyons, the kind of terrain where dirt roads are cut into slopes so narrow that 2 trucks cannot pass each other. And the fire was moving fast through bone-dry brush and timber, pushed by coastal winds into communities where people had built homes on cliff edges because the views were worth the risk. Cal Fire needed bulldozers, dozens of them. The agency contracts with hundreds of private companies every fire season to bring in heavy equipment on short notice. One of those companies was Turban Concrete Construction, a small outfit based in Coarsegold, Monterey County. The California Contractors State License Board had suspended Turban's license 8 times in the previous 4 years. Several of those suspensions involved workers' compensation problems. But when Cal Fire called on July 24th, Turban was still on the rotation list. Ian Turban did not drive the bulldozer himself. He texted Robert Reagan instead. Reagan was a truck driver by trade. He and his wife Morgan ran a small trucking company together out of Friant, a little town in Fresno County. About 10 years before the Soberanes Fire, a friend had convinced Reagan to help out on a wildfire. He had been coming back every season since, operating bulldozers and water trucks on contract, traveling to different parts of the state each time the mountains caught fire. We are telling this story because Robert Reagan is the kind of man who does not make headlines. He was not a Cal Fire employee. He was not a federal firefighter. He was a guy with a commercial driver's license and 10 seasons of fire experience who got a text from a friend and said yes. And in the system California uses to fight wildfires, that makes him disposable. We are a small channel, but every subscriber brings us closer to putting these stories in front of the people who need to hear them. Like and subscribe. On the night of July 26th, Reagan arrived at the fire and prepared to take over Turban's bulldozer from another operator. He was briefed on the assignment: cut a fire line on the northwestern edge of the Soberanes Fire in the Palo Colorado Canyon area. The terrain was exactly what Big Sur always is: steep ridges falling away into canyons you cannot see the bottom of, narrow dirt roads carved into mountainsides, smoke cutting visibility to almost nothing. And it was 11 o'clock at night. Reagan started moving his Cat D6 toward the proposed fire line. A fire engine was parked on the dirt road, blocking his path, and he could not get past it. So he guided the dozer onto a parallel road that ran above the first one. From there, he needed to drive down a steep embankment to get back to the lower road and reach his assignment. He had identified a spot on the slope that he thought would be safe to descend. But according to the Cal Fire investigation, he did not use that spot. Instead, he steered his machine onto the lip of a different section, an 81% grade. To put that in perspective, the steepest streets in San Francisco top out at 31%. Reagan was pointing a 20-ton bulldozer down a slope nearly 3 times steeper than anything you would drive a car on. A firefighter stationed at the engine on the lower road watched it happen. He saw Reagan's dozer begin to slide. The blade struck the edge of the embankment and the machine rolled onto its left side. It tumbled down the slope until it came to rest against the rear bumper of the fire engine below. Reagan was not wearing a seatbelt. The left door of the cab was open. When the Dozer rolled, he was thrown from the cab and pinned beneath the sweep. Sweeps are the heavy steel bars mounted around the operator's compartment to protect it from falling trees and debris. The same bars designed to keep an operator alive crushed Robert Reagan into the dirt. A paramedic who happened to be nearby checked him and pronounced him dead at the scene. He was 35 years old. His daughters were 2 and 5 years old. This is the kind of story that disappears if nobody watches it. Like and subscribe. What Robert Reagan did not know, and could not have known, was that he was not the first Dozer operator to die in that canyon. Not even close. On October 8, 2007, 9 years before Reagan's accident, and less than 1 mile from where his Cat D6 came to rest, a Cal Fire heavy equipment operator named Matthew Will was cutting a bench into the side of a ridge. He was 30 years old, based out of Hollister, and he had just graduated from the Cal Fire Academy in Iona. He was fighting a smaller blaze called the Colorado Fire when the ground beneath his Cat D6N gave way. The nearly 20-ton machine slipped off the side of the hill and did at least 2 full rolls, traveling roughly 150 feet before it stopped in a ravine at the bottom. During the rollover, one of the tempered glass windows in the cab shattered. Will's head struck a steel mounting bracket that pointed inward from the rollover protection structure. He was airlifted to San Jose Regional Medical Center and died the next morning from his injuries. His wife Diana and their 2 children, Tristan and Elsie, sued Caterpillar. They argued the cab was defectively designed, that the mounting bracket should never have been positioned where an operator's head could strike it during a rollover. A jury agreed and awarded them $6.7 million in damages. 9 years later, Robert Reagan drove into the same canyon, in the same kind of machine, on the same kind of slope. But this time, there was no $6.7 million verdict. Because Reagan was not a state employee. He was a GIG worker. And it goes back further than Matthew Will. In 1983, the wettest year Big Sur had seen in decades, a massive landslide buried Highway 1 near Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park under 4 million cubic yards of rock and dirt. Caltrans sent in 26 bulldozers. They worked 22 weeks straight, pushing the debris over the cliff edge and into the Pacific Ocean. It was the largest earth-moving project Caltrans had ever attempted at that point. During that operation, a Dozer operator named Skinner Pierce was killed when his bulldozer slid down the face of the slide and fell into the ocean. That slide dumped so much material into the water that ocean currents carried the sediment south and deposited it in a cove. It created the beach at McWay Falls, one of the most photographed spots in California. Every tourist who takes a picture of that waterfall landing on white sand is looking at a beach that was built by bulldozers, and that cost a man his life. 3 Dozer operators, 1 stretch of coastline, 33 years. Today, Caltrans deploys remote-controlled bulldozers and excavators on Big Sur slides because human crews cannot safely work on active landslides anymore. Robots do the work now. But on wildfire lines, private contract operators still climb into cabs at night, on slopes steep enough to make your legs shake just standing on them, working alone, sometimes with no supervisor within radio range. After Reagan died, the investigations revealed what the system had hidden. Urban Concrete Construction did not carry workers' compensation insurance. The company's license had been suspended 8 times. Cal OSHA issued 5 citations against Soberanes, totaling $20,000, with the largest fine being $13,500 for the seatbelt violation. The Monterey County District Attorney charged Ian Soberanes with 6 felonies, including tax evasion and insurance fraud. In 2019, a judge found him guilty of failing to file payroll tax returns, operating without workers' compensation, and filing a false document. His sentence was 300 days of house arrest and 3 years of felony probation. Reagan's widow, Morgan, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Cal Fire. She and her lawyers argued that the agency was negligent in supervising the operation of the Bulldozer. But a California law grants the state immunity from negligence claims involving firefighting injuries. The family dropped the suit. Without workers' compensation and without a legal path to hold the state accountable, Morgan Kemple and her 2 daughters were left with what strangers on the internet could give them. A GoFundMe campaign set up by Reagan's family had a goal of $16,000. It raised $137,000. Morgan remembers the night she met Robert. She walked up to him in a bar. He bought her a drink. He sang karaoke. They danced. And from that night on, she said, they were inseparable. At 4:30 in the morning on July 27, 2016, Morgan heard a knock on her door. She was worried her daughters would wake up. She opened it and saw Cal Fire officials standing outside. They asked to come in. She said she immediately told them to wait while she got the kids ready to go to the hospital. They stopped her. They said he was dead. The Soberanes Fire burned for 3 months. It consumed 132,127 acres. It destroyed 57 homes. It cost $260 million to fight, making it the most expensive wildfire suppression effort in American history at that time. And in all of that, the only person who died was a 35-year-old truck driver from Fresno County who got a text from a friend asking if he was available. His employer did not have insurance. His supervisor was not on site. His seatbelt was not fastened. And the canyon he drove into had already killed a Dozer operator 9 years before. 2 years after Reagan's death, in the summer of 2018, 2 more Bulldozer operators died fighting California wildfires. Braden Varney, a 36-year-old Cal Fire operator, was killed near Yosemite when his Dozer slipped 3 times on a narrow trail before rolling 220 feet down a mountainside on the Ferguson Fire. It took 3 days to recover his body. Don Ray Smith, an 81-year-old private contractor, was killed near Redding on the Carr Fire. The company that hired Smith did not have workers' compensation insurance either. If you have ever driven a Dozer on steep terrain, or if you know someone who does, tell us in the comments whether your employer carried workers' compensation. If you want us to tell the full story of Braden Varney, the Cal Fire operator whose Dozer rolled 220 feet near Yosemite, please like and subscribe. We are building this channel one story at a time, and every subscriber tells us these lives are worth remembering.